Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right across me, his name is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to dive into the new Speaker of the House and also some really interesting things coming out from behind the scenes in the Ninth Circuit. This is going to be one you want to hand out to all your friends and those that care about the Second Amendment, because this is some very important stuff. Because people, we might have the first deep pro 2A speaker we've had in, I mean, maybe even Tim's lifetime. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
That's a lot. That's a broader spectrum of time. But anyway, that's not important. That's not important, Tim. So make sure, guys, if you enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Now, Tim, one of the things we talked about pre-show before we get into it, one thing that is a horrible thing on the current conscience of America right now is the tragedy that occurred in Maine. We're not going to dive too deep into it because all of the details have not come in. Just so you guys know, that's not something that we're going to cover today. Now, we will in time when it's appropriate, but right now, it's not the appropriate time to get onto our different stumps and start yelling at each other. At least in our opinion. Tim, you want to throw anything on that?
Yeah, we don't agree with, and I haven't for some time, but we seem like we get forced into defending ourselves on social media and elsewhere when these tragedies occur. The people that want to disarm us, the anti-Second Amendment crew, they immediately take to social media. They jump in front of the cameras. They start saying things about it's the guns and it's all this stuff, and they use these events as political leverage, and it's distasteful and it's just gross. So they're out there talking about, we've screenshotted things that have occurred today where social media people are out there talking about things, quoting numbers that are wrong, everything. And we don't want to feed into that. We don't want to turn this murderer into a celebrity. And we don't want to allow these anti-gunners in their gleeful, disgusting behavior post-tragedy to suck us in and to take part in this little fury of stuff on the internet. So we're going to wait until the news has settled down. We have the actual information. We know more about the perpetrator. We know more about what happened. Then we'll talk about it and propose solutions. Right now just isn't the time. So
yeah, it's just not appropriate, and I don't think it's respectful either. But I think
it isn't.
I think that covers it. Legit. I think that covers it. Don't feed a fire if you don't want to deal with it.
Don't let them draw you into their tasteless acts. It really is. It's not necessary.
Yeah. But with that somber fact out there in the open, of course, our prayers, thoughts, everything is with the people involved, everything that's going on there. It's something that we need to grieve and support, not turn into something else. Anyway,
right.
That's kind of our statement on that point. But Tim, shifting gears a little bit, just, the hard shift, like the money clutch. Do you want to throw into the speaker, or do you want to dive into the dirty laundry from the Ninth Circuit? Because you know how I love letting you dive in here.
I want to talk about the Ninth Circuit because we've been, the news that has broken, if you will, about the Ninth Circuit is news that we've talked about here on Second Legacy before. We have said previously that the courts treat Second Amendment cases completely different than they do other cases that come before them. And up until then, I mean, we had evidence of that just based on their actions, but people could say that we were just speculating. Now we know the truth. So that's why I want to talk about the Ninth Circuit and the revelations that have come forth from the court itself, from somebody seated on the court. So this isn't hyperbole or political points or whatever. This is actually a justice that came forward from the court to talk about what goes on behind the scenes. They lifted the skirt up a bit. Yeah.
Just a smidge.
And there's a dirty pooper under there.
Yep. Oh,
just saying.
I got questions. We got a diaper change incoming. Well, so we've got an article, and this is from AmmoLand. Now, this is cited in the description box below. But, Mr. Producer, can you throw up number 5 for me? This is what we're reading from, so we're quoted. Dissent in Ninth Circuit magazine ban shows rogue judges ignore the Constitution. Now, kind of setting the table here. What we're really going to be diving into here is specifically a built-in bias that basically influences a different outcome for anything gun-related than anything else. Okay, so as you go into that, understand that's the angle we're going. So let me show you what we're talking about. Number 6, Mr. Producer. The Honorable Judge Van Dyke revealed a history of internal shenanigans when the en banc panel first took the case. Now, this is the magazine ban case, okay? Judge Van Dyke aired some of the Ninth Circuit's dirty laundry. The strong ideological opposition to the Second Amendment has been clear in the Ninth Circuit from the beginning. Now, again, Tim, this is about magazine bans. This is the one that Benitez overruled. He said it's unconstitutional. And then the Ninth Circuit did some very interesting things and twisted a lot to get the outcome they wanted, didn't they?
They certainly did. Yep. All based on bias against our constitutionally protected rights. And see, this is what rubs me raw about this, because look, politics are supposed to be played by politicians. Public servants are supposed to honor and respect the Constitution. It's their job. It's in the oath they take, right? To uphold and protect the Constitution. And yet we get these political hacks into office that want to carry out acts of political bias, and they don't like the law. So in this case, we have justices just going around rules and making up things as they go along to get the outcome that they want that aligns with their political views. And that is contrary to the way things are supposed to run. We saw an outstanding example of a left-leaning, I think it was the sheriff in New Mexico, who likely didn't agree with the Constitution, but agreed that what they were doing in New Mexico was against the Constitution, and he wasn't going to uphold those actions of the governor. And so that's the way a political servant is supposed to be. I may not agree with the law, but, you know, the Constitution, I should say, not the law. I may not agree with the Constitution, but I have to respect the Constitution because I've taken an oath to uphold that document over everything else, including government mandates and even laws that might pass at the state level that defy the Constitution. They have an obligation not to enforce those laws. Anyway, sorry.
I think that was Sheriff Allen, I believe is his name off the top of my mind.
Yep.
That was in New Mexico in Bernalillo. I still can't say the name. Bernalillo County. Boom, nailed it.
I hope you nailed it because you'll get corrected in the comments.
I cannot say that word. I don't know why.
I don't even try.
But yeah, that's a very good example. So now if we go in further into Judge Van Dyke's dirty laundry sharing here, check this out because I think this is important. This is number 7. But the current irregularities highlighted by Judge Bumate's dissent are not the only way this case continues to demonstrate our court's enduring bellicosity toward the Second Amendment. The irregularities in this case run much deeper, indeed, all the way back to when this case was first called en banc, and this part's the important piece. This is an en banc panel was born in illegitimacy, and this case should never have been taken en banc in the first place. After the 3-judge panel first issued its opinion in August 2020, one judge on our court requested Rule 54B notice in 3 cases, including this one, but then inadvertently missed the deadlines. Now, the deadlines and the timing are important to timely call the cases en banc under our clear rules, and that could happen to any judge. But rather than simply accepting the result dictated by our rules or even decided as an entire court to waive our rules, we went in a different direction. First, the decision was made by someone, not by the rules. That key point right there. They made a different decision outside the existing rules because they cared about the outcome more than they cared about other outcomes.
Yeah, they cared about the outcome more than they cared about the law or the Constitution.
Correct.
They had an agenda to push.
And they changed. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. And they changed well-known precedent and agreed upon rules in that court to get the outcome that they wanted. I don't think that's illegal, but I'll be honest with you, that's very shady.
Yeah.
That is very shady.
You know, a higher court like the SCOTUS needs to step in with this coming to light and do something about this. Because this has to be addressed. When a member of a court comes forward and says the court is behaving outside the bounds of the rules of the law and the Constitution, then something needs to be done to correct that immediately. We can't just go, oh, well, shrug our shoulders and say, we hope we can fix it the next election. This is a problem. This is a serious problem.
Yeah, this is a problem. Yeah, this is a problem. I completely agree. And this, again, keep in mind, this was a predetermined action built upon a topic, a constitutional right topic. If this was abortion or immigration or
anything else,
gerrymandering or politics, anything, it would have had to follow by the rules. And we've seen that multiple times. But because this is the Ninth Circuit and because it's an anti-gun area and it's run by anti-gun politicians, there's an anti-gun bias to bend the rules and break a few eggs as long as you can make the omelet that you want. Now, this part right here, number 8, Mr. Producer, this is where the judge really pours it on. First, the decision was made by someone, not by the rules, or even the entire court, to allow the respective panels to waive the deadlines on behalf of the entire court. Then the campaign started. Earnest conversations were had, hearts were poured out, tears were shed, and pressure was applied to the panels with mace-like collegiality. And in the end, a discrete collection of judges, again, not the entire court, struck a compromise, circumvented our own rules, and allowed the en banc call to move forward. But only in this one case. The agreement was made to call this case, but drop the en banc calls in 2 other cases, including a death penalty case. Priorities. That's staggering. Mm-hmm. That is insane.
Yeah,
like the idea that is even possible is nuts.
I know, and it's so concerning to see that, and unfortunately, this probably isn't going to get primetime news coverage anywhere. And you think Americans would take a look at this in general, whether they agree with the Second Amendment or not, and say our courts are doing what? Of course, thinking people. Political hacks are going to political hack, right? They're going to do what best benefits their political agenda. But just regular Americans will look at this and we've already lost tremendous faith, not only in our court system, but even in law enforcement in this country. There was a time not long ago when the FBI was considered to be one of the most advanced and unbiased and best law enforcement agencies anywhere in the world. And then you look at what we have today, and the concern is that they're just a political organization carrying out political orders from politicians above them, and that they're going out there holding, basically, and the DOJ is included in this, where you have the DOJ now being accused of having 2 sets of rules, either
yes.
And the same thing with the FBI. The FBI is not doing investigations. The IRS is not doing investigations if it doesn't bring the political outcome that they want. They're trying to protect certain political elements within our government. And this is a problem, because now we're seeing it in the courts. We have evidence. We have proof of it right now in the courts. So, the Americans' our faith in these institutions is being completely destroyed. And that's a bad thing, because when that trust is completely gone, that's when you start seeing discussions of, civil war and things like that. Because when people lose faith in their government and they see their government as becoming oppressive, then they start to act. And that's why we got to nip this stuff in the bud and take care of it. We can't let this stuff fester.
Well, it's as simple. It's the age old example. Corruption breeds a lack of trust. Lack of trust breeds a lack of emotional attachment and apathy, and then anger sets in. Then action steps in. These are small examples, but this is why accountability is so key and important. But we've hit that a whole lot. But now we're about to dive into some really awesome stuff from the speaker. Are you ready to go speaker on this?
Yeah, let's do the speaker.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're ready to go into speaker, I know I am, because Tim, legit, we might have the first heavily pro 2A speaker, and definitely in my lifetime. I mean, 100%. This guy, just a brief record of his voting history before I show you the clips that he's done so far. I mean, he voted for introduced a bill for national reciprocity, Tim. Mm-hmm. He did not vote for H.R. 8. He did not vote for the Violence Against Women Act, which was the whole boyfriend loophole from Chris Murphy. He did not vote for any of the gun control that came forward. And he was all about, he had one more thing about landlords and tenants. And if you are a tenant, then you can still have your gun rights, even if a landlord doesn't want you to. Mm-hmm. These are massive things. These are not small things. And we all fought for all of these little things as they occurred. But this guy was in the trenches the whole time, and we didn't even really pay attention because he wasn't going to be a prominent person. And
now he is.
Speaker, bro.
Yep.
Now he is speaker.
Yep.
So one of the things, but this first clip, the reason we have this organized this way, Mr. Producer's rolling it up right now. The first clip, because he's a soft-spoken guy, sometimes people are saying, well, he's a little soft-spoken. Is he going to get anything done? Mr. Producer, roll number 1 for me.
I've only got 25 seconds. I'll just say I don't have time for a question because you'll be elusive. But for the record, since we're stating things for the record, I've been in Congress 7 years. I think you're the most dishonest witness that has ever appeared before the Judiciary Committee. And I think I speak for a lot of my colleagues. This is such a frustrating exercise for us because our constituents want answers. They're tired of the open border. They're tired of people dying from fentanyl overdoses, and it's your fault. It's my time.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
No, there's no point of order in the middle of this. This is my opinion. I think it's shared by millions of American
based
people.
on the
You show no shame.
Dude, this guy just took Mayorkas, said to his face, "You're the most dishonest person I've ever seen on the Judiciary Committee," chaired by Jim Jordan.
Yep.
I mean, like,
such
Tim,
such truth has never been spoken before in the halls of Congress. I mean,
dude, oh my God.
And then they're trying to shut him down. It's like, no, there is no point of order.
Yeah. I mean, like, this guy's got a pair, and
Yeah,
he is a lawyer, and he focuses on constitutional issues. I mean, like,
all
these
to our
Democrats
favor.
who voted McCarthy out, right? They voted McCarthy out. They blamed it on Matt Gaetz, but had the Democrats not voted against McCarthy to vote him out, this would have never happened, Tim.
Yeah. No, I know. I was really concerned.
Irony.
I'll be honest with you. When Gaetz pulled that stunt, I thought, what a mess. You don't even have a plan to replace the speaker you're ousting in the middle of, a really brutal election cycle. What a very poor, thing to do from a strategic, or I should say from a Bush perspective, a strategery perspective. It's strategery is my favorite words. Strategery. Anyway, so yeah, what do you do?
What do you do? What you do is you go, well, we'll see what happens. And
I know.
The Democrats they were mocking him. They were mocking him 100%.
I was flabbergasted that it all played out the way that it did. Like I said, what do? You just got to sit back and watch it happen. But then this outcome is pretty darn stellar, it would seem. We'll see how this plays out.
It would seem.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Cautiously optimistic is extremely good. In fact, Tim, we've got another clip Mr. Producer is rolling up. This is the new Speaker of the House talking about red flag laws. You know how that's like the bane of my existence, and I hate those things.
Yeah.
Well, listen to what this guy does. Mr. Producer, throw number 2 up for me.
As usual, he misunderstands the point of Scripture and the Constitution. Here's the thing. As Americans, we respect and we protect the inalienable God-given right to self-protection and to the protection of innocent lives around us. President Biden said, among other outrageous things this week we've heard, President Biden said that he wanted to ban 9mm handguns. That's one of the most widely owned handguns by law-abiding citizens in this country. Mr. Cicilline of Rhode Island, now infamously in our committee hearing, exclaimed, quote, "Spare me the BS," that's not what he said, "spare me the BS about constitutional rights." It's pretty revealing. Mr. Jones, in the same hearing just a few moments later, he said that if Democrats don't get their way on their gun control wish list, that they will abolish the filibuster and pack the Supreme Court.
Bro, this guy has a pair. I mean,
yeah.
He's coming out against red flag laws. He's calling Democrats on the table. He quoted David Cicilline in the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally, he's holding nothing back, and I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, I know. And what's kind of ironic about all this, one of the reasons the left didn't like Jim Jordan was because of his stance on 2A issues. And they may have just gotten a more pro 2A person, at least as strong as Jordan, and perhaps maybe even more so. We'll see.
Bro, okay, so I'm going to say this before we go on to the next clip of this same speech with red flag laws. I'm going to be honest, dude. I think they actually pulled in a stronger 2A advocate because they just wanted to watch Jim Jordan burn, and this guy was a sleeper. Because what I'm about to play for you is going to it pretty much seals the deal on red flag laws. All right, Mr. Producer, let's go to number 3.
They're saying the quiet parts out loud. See, that wish list that they have includes taking away guns from Americans without the constitutionally required due process of law, which is exactly what this bill would do. It would allow the courts to take guns away from people without notice and without even the right to appear in the hearing to defend themselves in court. Now, the other side is going to tell you, and you'll hear in the argument here, hey, there is due process. Don't worry about it, they'll say, because people subjected to this process, they can just go to court and they can petition to get their firearms back. But I'll let my colleagues in on something that every first-year law student learns. Due process after the fact is no due process at all. Now, the other side's also going to argue here, get ready for it. They're going to claim that they've come up with a reasonable compromise by just making these gun confiscations orders temporary. They'll say it's only going to last 14 days. They won't tell you that these orders can be renewed indefinitely. My Democrat colleagues are going to tell you that this bill will save lives, but if you look at the objective studies, the comprehensive studies on this, you'll find that the red flag laws in all these states have had no significant effect on the rates of murder, suicide, or the number of people killed in mass public shootings.
Any questions? Any questions?
I mean, he just so wrapped it up. Wow. Yeah, this guy's amazing. This guy is amazing. Boy,
solid. And he has an A- from GOA too.
I like to know what got in the minus. Maybe we need to do a video on that. But it's that's really, really interesting because I mean he points out all the things that are really, really important about, in this case, the red flag laws, right? Everything that we've talked about, the Star Chamber courts
100%.
where you don't even face your accuser. Like you said, a first-year law student knows these things. Due process after the fact is not considered to be due process. You can't just say, well, and they say, like he was talking about, we've said this many times before, red flag laws, their entire purpose is to circumvent due process. They don't protect it in any way.
Exactly.
We have due process. There is a method for taking guns away from people, but you have to follow due process to do it. And what they want is a shortcut around due process while claiming they're preserving it. It's an outright lie, just like everything else they try to force down our throats.
But but again, he just laid it out eloquently, concisely, and extremely poignantly.
And then he even preempted their arguments. And you're going to hear my colleagues say this, and that's exactly what they said. But he already pointed out the fallacies of their assertions.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Pretty good stuff.
Due process, like you said, like you hit, due process after the fact is not due process. You've got the fact that you aren't going to really have the outcomes you promised with red flag law promises. They're empty promises. And then the idea that the guns can be taken away, just, poof. No big deal.
Yeah.
It's
only for 14 days, but we can renew that indefinitely. Yeah.
Yes. It's just so gold. Well, now we got one more for you. And this is something that this is going to be near and dear to your heart, Tim. I have a feeling. I think that your vibe on this is going to be a strong connection. So, Mr. Producer, throw in number 4 here.
If this bill passes, people may have their information added to the national crime databases even though they committed no crime. In what version of America do we think that's okay? The Democrats claim Republicans don't care about gun violence, but while they may repeat this over and over and over, it doesn't make it any more true.
That's why he has the A-, because he said the word gun violence.
Oh, yeah, could be.
That's it.
Quit using their
That's
verbiage. Yeah.
Yep, their verbiage. But something that he said there is, it's so realistic and relatable. They're going to put you on a crime list, on a watch list, and you've been convicted of no crime.
Yeah. And you won't know you're on the list until maybe you try to board an airplane and then they deny you access to the flight or whatever. And then if you want your names, and there's been some pretty prominent people that have names similar to wanted criminals or people on terror watch lists that have been added to these databases. They find out they're there because they can't get on a flight or whatever may alert them to the fact they're in this database. Then trying to get yourself out of the database is almost impossible.
Oh, it's very difficult.
People have not been successful doing that, even though they can document the fact that they're wrongly in the database. So they don't care. There's nothing about this that's about safety or anything else. This is all about pushing forward a tyrannical, political agenda. They just want control of you. They don't care about your guns. They want control of you. The fact that you own guns means that you might be able to resist their tyranny, and that's why they got to take them away from you.
Well, it's anything outside of their control because the government has to have complete control.
Complete control.
Anything bad from happening.
Complete obedience.
From diapers to graves, from cradle to graves, baby. But that's what they all do. I mean, it's one of the hallmarks of a tyrannical socialist, democratic socialist. It's a communistic. All of these governments cannot exist without complete control over every facet of your life because that's the entire thing, Tim. They have to be able to adjust the levers as a grand experiment to say, well, we have too much inequality over here, too much equity over here, too much blessings over here. We have to equal this out. Well, the only way you can equal it out is you have complete control over all aspects and all facets of a society. That's what they do. They do it incrementally, and they do it every time. Not just Democrats in America. This is in the European Union. This is in Russia. This is in Cuba. This is in China. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And that's why we fight it every single day, Tim.
Absolutely.
Every day.
And that's all we can do is fight back. I mean, that's our founding fathers were wise enough to give us the tools we need to fight back, even though you have people on the far left trying to take those tools away from us. But the fact is we still have them and we still can affect change. And we need to do that by being politically active. So with all that being said, thank you for watching The Second Legacy, folks. And we'll talk to you guys soon.